All right, folks, it is time for World Edition on April 7th, 2025, and a lot's going on in the world. A lot of different kinds of turmoil, and all along those lines. As a matter of fact, eyewitnesses are recounting a deadly Israeli attack on medics in Gaza, and already there are folks demanding an independent probe into Israel's killing of the Gaza medics. And Trump's tariff updates, global stocks, and U.S. futures are dropping as the trade wars intensifies. So world market plunges with Japan's Nikkei diving nearly 8% after a big Wall Street meltdown. So it looks like Trump's tariff turmoil sends European and Asian stocks into a tailspin. So definitely that's something that folks will be talking about as well. And Le Pen supporters rally in Paris, turning a protest into a populist show of force. So the French far right floats toppling government in wake of the Le Pen verdict. And the embezzlement scheme that led to Le Pen's elections ban is what WSG is talking about. That would be the Wall Street Journal, and all along those lines. So definitely, there's a lot of stories that are coming out of different parts of the world. And the Myanmar fighting continues despite post-earthquake ceasefires. So forecast of a week of rain adds to Myanmar earthquake woes as death toll tops 3,500 in that part of the area. And the UN is urging relief efforts in Myanmar as earthquake death toll rises, as I said. And a Palestinian American boy was killed by Israeli forces in West Bank. That's something that is in the news as well. The BBC and CNN were reporting on this teen that was shot in, looks like earlier and everything like that, according to officials. So IDF fires at terrorists throwing rocks in West Bank, and one was killed. So I'm guessing that that is the one that we're talking about. And the world is rushing to negotiating tables as Trump tariffs shake the global market. So the European market plunges as Hong Kong index sees the worst slump since 1997. And frustrated world leaders are wondering if Trump even wants a deal. So as the market implodes, U.S. trading partners are puzzled over whether there's room for negotiations. And Iran-backed Iraqi militias consider disarmament amid threats from Trump. So Iran-backed militias in Iraq are ready to disarm to avert Trump wrath. So definitely that's something that we're hearing as well. And Israel controls 50% of Gaza as Palestinians get squeezed into shrinking wedges of land. Israeli soldiers describe clearance of kill zone on Gaza's edge is an article that was coming out of Reuters. And from raising rubble to blowing up homes, IDF soldiers share how they expanded Gaza buffer zone in a new report. And one Israeli soldier confessed, said, I went to Gaza for revenge, and then I saw that we were killing women and children. Israeli soldiers confessed to innocent victims. So that was reported in Telegraphy. And Pope Francis made a surprise appearance in St. Peter's Square. So the importance of presence in a time of virtual reality, Pope made a surprise appearance during a mass in that area. So definitely the sick bed as a holy place. Pope Francis reflects on his own illness at Jubilee of the Sick. And Yemen's Houthi says the latest U.S. airstrike kills at least 4 in Sana'a. Far from being cowed by U.S. airstrike, Yemen's Houthis may be relishing them. And Houthis say, like I said, that the U.S. strike killed 4, and the bombing video suggests higher overall death toll in Yemen. So definitely we've got that going on as well. And the world's newest country, that being South Sudan, is teetering on the edge of a civil war. So it looks like the world's youngest nation is on the brink of a new conflict, and South Sudan's return to conflict is uncalled for and must be stopped, according to Radio Tamazaj. So definitely that's even Manitoba's South Sudanese are devastated over the violence and rally for justice, according to a story in the CBC. So definitely a lot's going on in the world, and the U.S. defends tariffs on the remote islands of penguins and seals. So definitely looks like Trump officials were pressed on tariffs against an island populated by penguins, and all along those lines. And Turkey's opposition vows to sustain protests over the jailing of Erdogan's main rival. So Turkish opposition party re-elects chairman following the arrest of the Istanbul mayor. So definitely looks like the opposition CHP re-elects their leader Özgür Özel. So that's something else that we're seeing in the news as well. And in another troubled area, that being the Democratic Republic of Congo, they've got floods. The Democratic of Congo floods. Dozens die after torrential rain hammers Kinshasa. So definitely that is something going on. It's about around 30 are dead in the Congo capital flooding, according to authorities in that area. So definitely a lot's going on there. And Mali accuses Algeria of shooting down a surveillance video drone, recalls a ambassador in that part of the area. So the Alliance of Sahel states recalls ambassadors as tensions with Algeria rises. So Mali accuses Algeria of sponsoring terror after downing that particular drone. And French Algerian ties are back to normal, France says after talks. So France and Algeria agreed to resume cooperation, Paris says, and it looks like they are back to normal talks. So French and Algeria have resumed diplomatic talks aimed at mending a rift in that area. So Macron and Tebboune to diffuse the French Algeria diplomatic spat. So definitely that's going on. And ICC sent Hungary a request to arrest and surrender Netanyahu hours after his appearance there. But the shuttle diplomacy in action, Netanyahu's quick pivot to Washington. So definitely that's something going on. And even Amnesty International was asking for an arrest and surrender Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu to the ICC. But that has not happened. So Moroccans protest Israelis' offensive in Gaza and take aim at Trump. So there are mass protests in Morocco against Israel's war in Gaza and U.S. support. So Morocco sees mass protests against Israelis' renewed Gaza offensive, as well as Trump's plan for the area and all along those lines. So definitely a lot's going on, and it looks like Trump is in the middle of a lot of it and everything in that space. So we'll see what folks have to say about that. Let me get to some of the U.S. news as well, and I'm sure that Trump will be a critical part of that news that is going on there as well. So as Trump officials near deadline to return a man deported to El Salvador, a group is demanding answers on student deportations. Behind the legal battle of the man sent to Salvadorian prison in the era is what the Wall Street Journal is talking about, and the U.S. has sidelined the Department of Justice lawyer involved in the deportation case. And the judge says the deportation of the Maryland man to an El Salvador prison was wholly lawless. So that's something that we're seeing as well. And deadly storms give way to rising rivers in flood-ravaged central U.S. Looks like the danger is not over. So torrential rainfall causes flooding in Ohio and Kentucky. So definitely that is something that people are looking at even here. And like I said, it looks like the stock market is having all kinds of issues. As a matter of fact, the stock market today, the Dow futures fell 800 points as Trump tariff turmoil deepens. So it looks like a lot of folks are going on that. Trump digs in, says market to take medicine as stock plunges. So he's definitely saying that this is something that needs to be done, I guess, in order to better the economy and all along those lines. So we'll see what folks have to say about that. And an Idaho mom who killed two of her kids is going on trial over the death of her husband. So doomsday mom, Lori Vallee, represents herself in a trial over the killing of her fourth husband. So this is another one of those stories that is getting some national attention. And definitely looks like there is a Republican senator leading the charge against Trump's tariffs. And they're saying that Congress has the power to harm Trump's tariffs, but Republicans aren't ready to use it yet and everything like that. So we'll see how this goes. And China calls U.S. terrorist bullying, urging others to continue with consultation. So Xi switches to fighting mode as Trump trade deal looks unlikely. And like I said, China accuses the U.S. of bullying with the tariffs. And Johnson over there in the Congress faces a fraught week as House takes up Trump budget blueprint. So Republicans want to make the Trump tax cuts last forever, and the House GOP leaders vow to push forward with the budget vote. So we'll see how this all plays out as well. And to borrow one of Sasha's favorite words, capitulate. That's what the Business Insider is saying. Retaliate or capitulate, how countries are responding to Trump's tariffs. So President Trump tariff formula makes no economic sense. It's also based on an error, according to the American Enterprise Institute. So we'll see if folks agree or disagree with that. And after a muted start, Oregon erupts in resistance to Trump's second term with a groundswell of protests. So definitely that's something that folks are talking about as well. And the Trump administration revokes the visits of 4 international students at one of the other universities. I'm trying to figure out which university that is, and all along those lines. But definitely, it looks like a lot's going on in the world, and a lot is taking place in the world with tariffs, people having their visas revoked, and a number of other things that are taking place, and all along those lines. So definitely, it was the University of Michigan where those visas were revoked, and all along that kind of space. But yeah, a lot's going on in the world, and it's just the start of this particular week. So, by the way, the artist behind what some people say is the worst Trump portrait defended her work. So the painter of what some people says is truly the worst Trump portrait says the president's comments threatened her art career. So Colorado artist denies trying to distort Trump in the portrait, and all along that kind of space. So, and Hasselhoff raised a record-breaking $11 million for a Senate reelection. So definitely, it's a lot going on in that space, and a lot going on. By the way, the Real ID deadline is looming, and many travelers are scrambling and confused. And some folks are asking, can you use their passport as a real ID? And everything's Real ID enforcement begins May 7th, and TSA is urging travelers to prepare for new ID requirements. And Democrat Christian Hines launched a congressional bid in a Detroit suburb, and all along those lines. And resistance grows as proposed cuts threaten health care for over 79 million in the United States. So House Speaker Johnson is eyeing big cuts to Medicaid, and definitely we'll see if folks have to say about that. And Duke men's basketball player Kaman Malik could be impacted by the State Department's ruling on South Sudan passport holders. So they did not make it to the championship round, which is playing today. That'll be between Florida and Houston. But Rubio says U.S. is revoking all visas held by South Sudanese passport holders. And Duke is looking into how the State Department ruling on South Sudan passport holders could impact projected NBA lottery pick Kaman Malik and everything like that. So definitely might even have some impacts locally, but we'll bring in Jacoby, see what he's got to say about that, and maybe even the game loss, which I know a lot of people were upset about, and I think our founders as well. But it looks like we might have a player impacted from Duke, and I did watch him, and he did have I guess a decent game, but not a decent enough game to win and everything. And Cooper Flag and him and Knipple and a couple of others, maybe even Proctor, maybe looking to see if they're going into the NBA earlier, if they'll be back this year and everything like that. So what's your take on all this visa situation?
Well, hold on. Duke also got its ass kicked last night on the White Lotus. The family where the dad went to Duke got devastated. And people are mad that they made that family a Duke family.
I don't think it was worse than the basketball game. They were leading like 67 to 61 with 34 seconds left. It was in the bag for Duke. Well, 2 interceptions later, it's tied, foul later, and they're behind. And unfortunately, I was watching the game at 4 o'clock in the morning here in Barcelona, but it was horrible. They imploded. It was awful, and Houston ends up going to the Final Four. So what can you say about Duke? But Duke has another problem. They do have their new center, who's 7'1" or 7'2", who's from Sudan. And the real question is Donald Trump going to kick out the center from Duke University? Now that would be a disaster beyond biblical proportions. I mean, you just see Sports Nation go crazy if they revoke his visa. But we'll see what happens.
Couldn't a Duke booster? So couldn't a family of Duke boosters adopt him?
No, I'm not an immigration attorney. I'd have to immigration attorney work on the case and figure out what to do if he needs to do anything at all, because immigration law is a specialty. I have no clue what the next thing was.
Hey, Nick, speaking of immigration laws and everything like that, and you're not fortunate for just a minute, apparently one of your other favorite people, RFK, is planning to send health officials to quote unquote Indian country, and this is angering the native leaders in that area. So it looks like the Urban Indian Health Institute is pushing back on Kennedy's HHS layoffs and everything. So I'm guessing a lot of folks that were helping the Native American community were laid off as well. And apparently he's voiced concerns or continued tribal concerns about the HHS restructuring. So it looks like it's impacted the tribal lands as well.
If politics was a sport, RFK is a last round draft choice. And or he's a non-pick. And so the thing is, he's just a horrible pick. And so putting him on your team is a recipe for disaster. However, if the Democrats are smart, what they need to do is say nothing, because all they do is dig their own grave. Let Trump implode and stop trying to fight all these battles you're going to lose. Just be quiet.
Isn't that what
You don't have to do
Kamala Harris said and everything? Because I think Kamala Harris said that she basically warned us against this and everything. And actually, I think Tim Walz said that was not a diplomatic thing to say, and they wanted a little bit of tit for tat.
Let me tell you, all the red-blooded Republicans, one thing they hate to do is lose money. Okay, and let me tell you, you want to see an about face? If he doesn't turn this ship around in 30 days. Because they're not giving him a long time, we're very short-minded. His battleship shall be sunk. And so you don't have to do anything. He better turn around in 30 days or else forget it, because they can't handle this stock market. I mean, have you seen it? It's getting pulverized.
Yeah, it's getting pulverized left and right.
Unreal. And if it keeps on going, you're gonna see all these good, true Republicans kick these MAGA people out the door. Okay.
Well, apparently the Democrats were hammering Trump because apparently while the stock market was crashing, Trump was deciding that it was a good time for a weekend of golf as everything like that. So
well, he's a real estate guy. See, here's what you also don't understand. I used to work with these rich people. I mean, like every day. It was 17 years of my practice was ultra high net worth individuals. The founding family of Coca-Cola, the president of Bausch & Lomb, President Kimberly Clark, the president of Philip Morris. And one thing was that they differed. You're either a real estate rich person or stock, but usually you're not both. So Trump is not a stock person. He's a real estate. He's a dirt monger. So the thing is, when the stocks go up or down, he just shrugs his shoulders. He doesn't understand it at all. And so the thing is, of course, he's going to play golf. His money's in real estate. What does he care? But if you're just
really quickly,
that's all.
Just really quickly, just really quickly along those same lines and everything. Senator Booker had another conversation, a town hall, and apparently he said the biggest mistake Democrats has made is not centering people enough. And he said he called on Democrats to take responsibility for the party's mistakes. So what is your thoughts on that? Because apparently he's saying that you got to own the mistakes that you made and then try to make some corrective actions as everything as well. So what is your take on Senator Booker's comments?
Well, that answered that question.
So Toby got that puzzle look on his face, and I think he froze.
Toby froze up. Wait.
Well, I froze for a second, and I was switching Wi-Fi's. I'm basically in the middle of 3 setups, so I'm on the hotspot on my phone because I'm outside right now trying to enjoy the day a little bit. But I missed your question, so.
What did you think? Booker is asking the Democrats to that they didn't made a mistake by not centering people enough, and that he's calling on the Democrats to take responsibility for the party's mistakes and to basically acknowledge that they made a mistake in some of the things that they did and move forward. So I was just wondering your take on that.
Yeah, I mean, you got to accept mistakes. Honestly, Tim Walz actually sounded the best over the weekend when he was on the different news channels, accepting the mistake and trying to move forward, because yes, people want a vision forward. And yeah, I agree. Trump is going to implode. He's doing that now. The stock market evidently is doing a giant swing right now, but Dow futures are down, went down by a ton, and then others are going to just drop off the planet. They've lived in this world. The MAGA crowd lives in this world of lies, and when the truth hits, it hurts. Because you cannot believe the lies all the time. So yeah, I agree with Cory Booker. The party needs to accept its faults. Yes, needs to point out the fact that, hey, we did the messaging wasn't correct on what we wanted to say and how we portrayed it. Yes, we should have empathized with the individuals more who were feeling the pain of inflation, even though we were trying to do this nuanced and educational view of it. People don't care about it. People care about what's happening in the why are my groceries going up? And that's the way they should have talked, rather than let's point out the fact that the U.S. Recovered from inflation better than anybody else. That people don't care about that.
Wait, Jacoby, hold on a minute. Okay. I can tell you rich people don't give a rat's for their groceries going up. Okay. Doesn't make a difference to them.
You missed the point. You already started off wrong.
No,
hold on. Let me clarify for you,
okay,
because
please.
where you're speaking from is where the Democrats were talking, and the people who vote do not care about that. The people where you just said rich people don't care about groceries. Well, people who sit and make that average wage do. The people, the vast majority of the American public cares about what the grocery prices are and the gas prices are. They don't have the luxury of saying, I don't care about that eggs are up. I don't care about that. So the vast majority of the people cared, and the Democrat Party did not speak to that. They spoke to you talking about, hey, the rich, you don't have to worry about this because the inflation's coming down and all. Nobody cares about that. And so they have to be able to speak to a better audience and a much more broader audience than just saying, okay, well, we're going to talk to these people because they're going to be highly educated on what tariffs exactly are and what the taxation is and what inflation is, how to run the stock market. Majority of people can't jump in the stock market and don't care about it.
Well, speaking of the stock market, hold on a second. Speaking about the stock market, Bessent says that Americans, and that's one of Trump's people, who are ready to retire aren't worried about the day-to-day fluctuations. So he rejected warnings of a recession, and apparently he's saying that more than 50 countries are willing to negotiate or something along those lines. But what do you say to a gentleman in the White House that says that Americans who are ready to retire aren't worried about the day-to-day fluctuations of the stock market?
Okay, first of all, they are. But what I was trying to drive the point to Jacoby, the top 30%, they don't care about the groceries. They do care about the stock market. And because they have money in stocks. Remember, I told you like 90% of all stocks are owned by 30%, the top 30%. 1% owns like 40%. So they do care. And let me tell you, the stock market going down, Trump now has their attention. Trust me on that one.
I get that part.
And not in a good way.
Let me give an example with actual numbers. So Trump's people have been accused. Peter Navarro, who hasn't been right about anything in 2016, is a lunatic, is one of these they used some bad formula to calculate what the tariffs are from, and they calculated the tariff from China is 34%. So we hit back with 34%. People who know what they're doing calculated that the average tariff out of China is 7.5%. If you've ever bought Chinese stuff in the past 10 years, you know it's freaking cheap, that it's not tariff heavy. But China now, in response to the U.S., has raised their tariffs from 7.5% to 34%. 4.5 times what it was.
And that's the thing. The formula they were using was not just reciprocal tariff formula. They also calculated in the deficit, the trading deficit.
Trade.
So all they did was they used the deficit as their trade, as trying to calculate the actual tariff. They didn't use anything else.
But overall, Jacoby, it's voodoo economics.
It is completely.
All right, one thing we can agree on, because the thing is, it wasn't like he surgically fixed this. Instead, what he did is he took a hacksaw and amputated the whole leg and said, well, maybe this will work. Well, it might, by the way. I'm not going to say it won't, but I'll tell you this. It better work, or in 30 days, you can kiss the good old party goodbye.
So
because the top 30% will not stand for it. I'm just saying.
So
I don't think he'll have 30 days, because again,
you're talking
about the top 30%.
Yeah, that's a lot of people.
Hold on, wait. But you're forgetting 70% is bigger than 30.
Yeah, but they don't vote. They don't know what they're doing. They're
No,
easily.
they vote. That's what I'm talking to you. That's why I'm telling you.
The bottom 70% don't vote. They're easily influenced.
Hold on, Nick. As much as you say that the bottom does not vote, the bottom votes.
No, they vote.
That is where the actual Democrat Party lost the actual election. They did not portray or tell or message exactly what they wanted to put forward for a future. They didn't have a coherent message. What Donald Trump did is he tapped into that anger that was from that bottom 70%, that anger that was coming from those individuals that hated anything and everything and needed a boogeyman. He tapped into that, and he was able to get that 70%, even from a larger part of the Hispanic community fell into that. Why did they fall into that? Because they believed that, this economy that Donald Trump had in the past was so phenomenal, and he's going to do all these tariffs, and he's going to get rid of these illegal aliens and so on and so forth. Now, that's his same Hispanic base that he came in on hates him. They've said that all they did was use us, and he is deporting all our friends. Oh, and all these prices are going out of the water. He doesn't know what he's doing. He didn't do any of these things. So those people vote, and yes, the elites and these 30% and these 10%, yeah, they're mad at the stock market. And yes, those are the people that Donald Trump will listen to. But again, that's why the Republican Party itself is getting nervous, because he doesn't have 30 days. Remember, the inflation, if we talk about the stuff where the Democrat Party fell apart, this is where the Republican Party's falling apart, because they're going on this idea that, hey, we have this extra time. Well, inflation went down under Joe Biden pretty quickly, but that didn't matter. What's going to matter right now is he has like maybe a week, because people.
So, but what's the mechanism? So the Americans as a whole don't have an opportunity to vote for another 19 months. Are we going to start seeing Republicans jumping ship and switching parties?
Well, let's hold on a second. We got Steve Rao, who is running for county commissioner here in Wayne County, but has got his ears to the ground with both the Democrats and the Republicans and everything. So what are you hearing, Steve, about the tariffs and the reaction to the tariffs and everything along those lines? And I know you got some young people in your life. So is anybody upset at the other thing that I was going to bring up, which I know it's become a friend to the Pod TV network, with TikTok, and their TikTok deal apparently was stalled by China's objections to tariffs, and according to what Trump is saying. So apparently, but TikTok is staying on the App Store after assurance from Attorney General Pam Bondi and everything. So what is your take on the tariffs as well as TikTok?
Well, I mean, first of all, I think there's just a lot of unease out there in the market, the stock market. There's a lot of Indian American businesses. I got a call from a couple of press people last week about the tariffs on Indian, 80% on Indian imports, and a lot of Indian stores here in Morrisville Cary that are importing their products from India, and that's going to drive up the cost. And people just concerned about whether we're going to head into a recession, and job loss already occurring with these federal cuts. So, and I think in terms of, I haven't really been keeping up on TikTok or whatever, but I think that it'll be interesting to see if it continues. And I think that what I predict is that I think the off-year elections in 26 will be a good year for Democrats, but I think still it's hard to say what they're going to do with the White House. I'm hearing names about, Kamala, Vice President Harris running again, former Vice President, hearing names, Tim Walz and others, but I really think it's going to take a new type of Democrat. I like Andy Beshear from Kentucky, governor of Kentucky, red state, done well in Kentucky, young, dynamic guy. I think they got to get back to getting the Southern governor, someone there that could couple up with Wes Moore from Maryland, governor of Maryland, a combat veteran. Also Cory Booker. I think he might be someone looking at it with this, recent filibuster, but I think it would be hard for him. I think at the end of the day, they've got to get back on message. They got to get with Democrats. Would Roy Cooper throw his hat in if he didn't run for the Senate? Maybe. Heard about Josh Stein, but I don't think that Governor Stein would do it yet. But maybe in 8 years. But anyway, that's my take on it. And I think it's just a very disruptive time. And I don't know whether this is a strategy for Trump that he's just going to have people come in there and, try to renegotiate with them and back down. It's great to see Sasha Starr here. And we got a Ukrainian scientist coming this Friday to Raleigh to talk about drones and things like that. So it's going to be interesting. But that's my take.
Hey, Sasha, just really quickly along those same lines, I'd love to hear your talk about that. So apparently Ukraine is going to send a team to the U.S. next week for talks on a new draft mineral deal. So we do know that was one of the things that Trump had put out there and everything. But apparently there are folks that are looking at that. And I did see the New York Times had a article where they said, I hope Trump won't deceive us. Ukrainians are wary of the U.S. mineral deal and everything like that. So what is your take on this mineral deal, and will the mineral deal take place, and will that help in the war between Ukraine and Russia?
Interesting, this mineral deal. This mineral deal will yield anything, if at all, in next 10 to 15 years. And Trump probably won't be with us at that time. Right? So I don't understand actually dynamics of this deal. There is nothing about tying this deal to providing guarantees or warranties to Ukraine or new weapons, anything whatsoever. There is no tied with that. So for Trump, I think, I'm sorry to say, it reminds me, let's see, when man sees a beautiful woman and he has an erection, and then the telephone rings and somebody distracts you or so on, and you don't have an erection any longer. So same with Trump. He really wanted the deal for whatever reasons. He wanted to do it a month ago, maybe a month and a half. I don't think that he wants or needs this deal today when there is so much trouble in the world going on with this tariffs or so on. I don't understand why he needs this deal. Ukraine, even more so. Why Ukraine needs this deal? It's a mystery to me. Really.
Yeah. Speaking of mysteries, and we were talking about before you got
quick,
here, what is your take on the terrorist?
Real quick, Mark, I wanna be Sasha's translator right now because he was being nice. Sasha, you know this ain't gonna do nothing. It has no guarantees. This was just so Trump can say that he had done something. That mineral deal is crap. The actual mines where they're supposed to grab the minerals are all located in Russian-held territories. He's not going to do crap. The mineral deal is a joke.
But let me correct you. In the latest version of that, it is no longer rare earth metals. Now we are talking about all Ukrainian infrastructure, such as railways, roads, ports, power stations, just whatever Ukraine has, everything is going to Trump. That's what's the nature of the deal. So Ukrainians are now trying sort of to soften it one way or another. But I don't understand. Trump obviously shows that he doesn't need this deal anymore. He doesn't want this deal anymore. So I don't know why Ukrainians are so stubborn to try to do this deal. Probably next thing what Trump will say, oh, you want a deal? Okay. So I want every 10th of Ukrainians will become my slave. Every 10th Ukrainian woman will become my mistress. And what else you got left? Okay, so everything is on the table, everything is mine, and I still need this deal.
Yeah, that's just crazy and everything. We were talking earlier, Sasha, about the tariffs and their impact on the economy, and I know that you have the Modern Investment Show, so I know you studied the stock market as well as other indicators. So how many days of this crash will continue? We've already had like about 4 or 5 days of this crash and everything. So how long will this crash continue, and will we ever see it going back in the right direction?
Well, market was trying in the last half an hour, trying to do a little bit of a rally from its lows, but I don't think it is there to stay. You see, unfortunately, there is no capitulation yet. There has to be a capitulation of cosmic proportions. There has to be news that some people jump out of the windows or just doing all kind of crazy things. Some stockbrokers committed suicide. We don't have it yet. And until we'll have complete and total capitulation, market will continue to go down.
Hey, wait a minute. I don't know why you guys keep beating on Trump. You have to look. He has a record of success. Remember, quiet, Tito. He had his Trump casinos. They were big. He had Trump Airlines. That was huge. He had Trump University. That was big. Okay. So, and he even had a USFL team, the New Jersey Generals. So when you look at Trump, look at his history on how well he's managed his corporations, from the casinos to the airline industry to the universities. Trump University, remember that? Okay.
How many of those were successful, Nick? How many of those were actually successful?
See, this is why I enjoyed Nick. He came in, dropped the bomb, and ran.
Yeah, Trump's USFL team brought down the entire league. He killed a whole sports league.
And also, how does a man go bankrupt with a casino?
Because he opened 3 casinos, so he was competing against himself in a dying city, Atlantic City. He was too dumb to. I mean, he does have a Las Vegas casino, but he opened 3 casinos at once in frickin' Atlantic City, where all you get are old people taking free bus rides down to drop $150 into video poker machines.
I have to tease Sasha just really quickly, because before he came here, I was actually doing the news report and everything, and I actually referenced you when I was doing the news report, Sasha, because I think Business Insider must be listening to you and everything, because one of your favorite words when you talk politics is capitulate. You used it again today, and apparently the headline in the Business Insider was retaliate or capitulate, how countries are responding to Trump's tariffs. So I'm convinced that they must be listening to Pod TV and hearing you use this word a lot and everything, Sasha, because it has become a new word that they put in the headlines. I hadn't seen it in the headlines ever before, so I think they've been watching you, Sasha.
Maybe. Well, I meant capitulation on the stock market. I didn't mean capitulation on tariffs. And okay, so the news are that over 50 different countries approach or trying to approach Trump to renegotiate or something. Okay, well, let's consider that it's true, but sanctions are against 180 countries, so 130 countries are not calling Trump to renegotiate or anything. Furthermore, the China, probably the most significant one, is retaliating and quite vocal and very swift action, and European Union is measuring and preparing their retaliation against tariffs, which is quite logical. See, in the first place, okay, there could be some grievances about the tariffs or different duties that Europeans, for example, place on U.S. goods, and sometimes they were more than U.S. was putting on European goods. So this is a matter to negotiate. So you have to, okay, you want to remove all tariffs, and we are going to remove all tariffs. Or you're going to put 10%, we're going to put 10%, or so vice versa. But you see, Trump's grievance is not about the duties. It's about trade imbalance. This is the stupidest thing that I've ever heard. What is a trade balance? Let's see. If you are going to have dinner at the restaurant, so you're paying a bill, say $50 bill, okay? So now there is a negative trade balance with that restaurant, because now restaurant got $50 from you and you gave $50. So there is a trade imbalance between you and this restaurant, and there is nothing you can sell to that restaurant to correct this balance, right? So same thing with, for example, if Germany and Japan, they sell to U.S. very well-made cars. And U.S. consumers, they're doing so well that they can choose to buy American cars or Japanese or German cars. So if you want to take that freedom from them and put, you can put 25%. Why not 50%? Put 250% tariffs on all Japanese and the German cars. So what are you going to achieve? First of all, American manufacturer will raise their prices because there is no longer competition. So they will sell their not so well made cars to Americans for higher prices. So do you see that American people are winning in this equation? I don't think so. They will pay more money for the same crap.
Yeah,
So I
speaking of
want to go
not
back to
winning and
Atlanta. Hold on,
everything.
hold on. I want to go back to Atlantic City for one more sec, where Trump built 3 casinos. They all went bankrupt. When was now? If you're a bro, a young bro with maybe tattoos around your arms, not even that young a bro, but and you want to hook up, or you're a hot influencer. When was the last time a bro or an influencer went to Atlantic City to try to get laid? I would say, I don't know, the 1950s. Atlantic City, everybody goes to Vegas. And Trump decides to spend what, $100 million, $200 million in Atlantic City, a city that has been dying for 100 years. They started the Miss America pageant 100 years ago to try to bring Atlantic City back. Even 100 years ago, it was in trouble. So, and Trump, that's where he's got terrible judgment. He has nobody around him to improve his judgment. This time around, it's all idiots.
Yes, all it is around them and everything. Hey, Jacoby, I did have a question for you based on the tariffs and based on one of your specialties and all along those lines, which is the gaming industry. But it looks like the Nintendo president, Doug Bowser, says that the tariffs are complicating his getting out Switch 2 and everything like that. So I just wanted your take on that, because he says that this Trump tariffs are complicating the Switch 2 launch and everything. And I know a lot of people that are into gaming are into Switch and stuff like that. So what is your take on Nintendo and its impact on the tariffs impact on it?
I mean, it's going to have a huge effect on the gaming industry. Every facet of the gaming industry is affected by it. There's nothing that won't be. From for example, the Xbox itself. You have all the computer chips on the inside. You know where they come from? They're not built here. Yeah, it's got the Microsoft title, but the chipset, it comes from overseas. The NVIDIA card, that comes from overseas. All the chips on the NVIDIA card come from overseas. Most of the games for example, PlayStation 5, that comes out of Japan. Japan's biggest console is, Nintendo's whole family is usually the biggest, but the PlayStation 5 is one of the hottest selling things. Gonna go up. The PlayStation 5 Pro, which was just released, the PlayStation 6 is going to have to wait a lot longer now because of the fact that you've got the tariff stuff that you're going to have to figure out. The Nintendo Switch, which was supposed to come out in June, is going to get pushed back because it's got to figure out the pricing. It was coming out at a high price already, and now you're talking about doubling that price. So yeah, the gaming industry is going to be hurt. So the Switch 2, and take for example your cell phones. Every one of us has a cell phone. Or on this screen here, every one of us has a cell phone. Guess what? When you buy a new cell phone now, that price is going to double. They've already said that the iPhone may go from that $1,300 device to a $2,300 device now. So yeah, it's dumb. This is just dumb.
Well, speaking of chairs and dumb, I know Sasha's not a big fan. I know a lot of other people are not big fans of it either. But apparently, the tariffs may have had a unexpected consequence because the price of Bitcoin tumbled on Sunday as the market prepared for another tariff-driven sell-off. So those folks that are into Bitcoin, apparently this tariff is not exactly helping that market either and everything. So what is our thoughts on that? Because I hear that it could be as much as close to $6 billion in losses in the Bitcoin space and everything. Oh, actually, they said Bitcoin undercuts 80,000 or something like 80K is what I'm looking at and everything. So it's definitely impacting the Bitcoin and all along those lines. So is this going to have an unexpected consequence for those people that are thinking that Bitcoin was their answer before this tariff thing took place?
No.
The support of Bitcoin is 70 to 72,000, and that's
Right.
where it's going. And if it will break through that support level, the next support level is about $50,000. And if it will break through 50,000, there is no longer support. Maybe 10,000, maybe 12,000. It's hard to say. But first of all, let's see that it will touch first support line, 72,000. Interestingly enough, Bitcoin took the longest one to capitulate to these tariffs because the stock market was falling apart for the last several days, 3 days at least, where Bitcoin was still around on the same level, even went a little bit higher on one day. So finally, it did capitulate yesterday, and it continues today. Now, it's lately been observed that Bitcoin still moves in parallel with the Nasdaq. There is a correlation between Nasdaq movement and Bitcoin. So Bitcoin in this case was a little bit delayed, but still follows the Nasdaq. Now, which way it will go further? Well, it all depends now on the news. You see, Trump is a very smart cookie. He understands stock market somewhat, and he's now playing to, okay, now I'm going to do this, everybody sells. This, everybody buys. This, everybody on the sideline. So he enjoys being in charge of well-being of hundreds of millions of American people. He is completely in charge thanks to all these idiots who surround him and allow him to do exactly that. But we'll see what's happened.
We'll see how that plays out and everything. And the article I was referring to said Michael Saylor's strategy halts Bitcoin buy despite dip below 87,000, as you were just saying, and everything. And they warned of a $5.9 billion loss. You know, one of the friends of Trump that's been out there, and apparently he's taking issue with the tariffs, and maybe it's because he is from another country and everything. But what is our thoughts on Elon Musk, who is apparently hoping for a zero tariff situation between the U.S. and EU? So apparently there might be some disagreement between Musk and Trump on this whole tariff issue. So what is our thoughts around this kind of division between these two allies?
Musk ends up getting cut loose maybe a few weeks earlier than he would have been otherwise.
So he,
I don't think anything's going to happen to Musk. This is just talk. This is him trolling. That's what he's doing. He's distracting.
Yeah, I hope he will be free.
I thought he said he's leaving in May anyway. No words, toward the end of May, he's out anyway.
Yeah.
Again,
So,
the man paid $300 million for the White House. He paid more for the White House than
you're acting like $300 million is a lot of money.
Nick, hold on, let me finish. He paid more. Listen, he paid more for the White House than he did for Twitter, and he hasn't given up on Twitter yet, has he? So again,
he paid $44 billion for Twitter.
Musk is just going to go off into the wind and disappear when he has his businesses that are getting investigated, and he's gotten all this information with his little buddy bros, big balls, and all. If you think he's just going to disappear, I got a bridge. You know, I just picked it up last week on discount, and you know what? It goes right across the street to a mall. You know where I bought it? Over in Venezuela. You know, you can have it for cheap.
Jacoby, as you well know, it was the Democrats who funded.
Don't give me the Democrats this. No, stop.
Yeah. He got billions of
We're talking
contracts.
about Elon Musk, and you're bringing up the Democrats.
Let's get real here.
And you're bringing up the Democrats.
Yeah, because they're the ones who funded Elon.
Who was Donald Trump's biggest donor?
Oh, it was Elon Musk.
Thank you. We're done here.
No, we're not done here. What you don't know, because you don't know, is that Elon Musk was sucking money from Joe Biden.
We're going down this whole rabbit hole. Who was Donald Trump's
He's
biggest
like any
donor?
rich guy. He plays both sides of the fiddle.
No,
And
was-
you know, the
Hey,
Democrats
here you go,
are
Nick,
dumb enough to
Nick,
let them
Nick,
do it.
just to
But you're
just
the guy
to
who
show,
put it in
just to
office
show how far we're done
because of
here.
your climate change.
Was Kamala Harris's biggest donor Elon Musk? The answer's no. Whose biggest donor was who's
the biggest donor to
who's Donald
Elon
Trump's
Musk
biggest
was
donor?
the
Elon
Democratic
Musk.
Party.
Elon Musk didn't
Okay.
give
It's
$300
your
million
climate
to Kamala
change
Harris.
initiative.
So you're just
Totally
making up
don't remember that liberal. Oh, the climate is being destroyed. Elon goes, I'll save it. Oh, what can you do, Uncle Joe? Send me 20 billion. And that's what happened.
300 and
So, yeah.
Well,
300
speaking of which,
$300
hold on a second. Speaking of which, getting off of this topic for a while and everything, we mentioned it earlier. Your favorite person, Nick RFK, and everything, but apparently he says that MMR vaccine is the most effective way to prevent measles spread. So is that a truism and everything? And is he going to be correcting this, or is he going to possibly get us another outbreak, much in the way that COVID was out there? But he is out there trying to figure out what to do with this measles outbreak that we apparently are in.
Well, the thing is, they've had the measles vaccine for years. What century are we living in? I mean, seriously.
No, stop it. Again,
What?
we had a measles outbreak for years.
No, not measles outbreak, but you told me we had a measles vaccine.
Okay, there we go. You
Okay.
scared me for a
Yeah,
second.
in other words, RFK, you know, if does he know anything about medicine? I mean, he's an environmental lawyer. Okay, so he doesn't know anything about medicine. Well, I hate to send him the information, but measles was under control, as one of our experts have said, who's a real subject matter expert, for 20 years with not one death. And now we've had 3. Okay, now how did they do it? What was the magic? How do you eliminate it? We had a measles vaccine for 20 years. Oh, I didn't know. Come on. That is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. As who would say that? Aaron Nimzowitsch. No.
Well, apparently
That's
HIV prevention was making great strides, and then Trump's budget acts fell, and now we're having this research being eliminated and everything like that. So it could be some rough times even in the health fields as well.
I mean,
So
we're
what
gonna
is
have-
your-
It should
Really
not
bad.
be. The health field has been singing very good until RFK got in. I mean, you know, we actually we're doing really well minus the cost benefit analysis. See, this is what I'm saying. They take a sledgehammer to basically do a little paint job. They're just incredibly stupid. And it's same with the tariffs. It wasn't surgically done. It was just hack everything, and, you know, and see what happens. It's plain stupid. Now Sasha might think it's smart, so we'll listen to Sasha because he's smart.
I will present it in more details on Wednesday on the financial show, Modern Investing. However, before Wednesday, there's still 2 days, and there may be some useful information that I can let you know today. It's about time that market may rebound a little bit. I'm not believing in a huge rebound, but somewhat rebound. I think it's already underway. So from this position, I've selected and acquired a new position in a stock by the name SOXL. It's 100% technology. It's a triple ETF, which has a handful of high-tech companies, actually only 6. Texas Instrument, NVIDIA, Broadcom, Advanced Micro Devices, Qualcomm, and KLA Corporation. They're all beaten down severely in the last few days. And if there will be a rebound, I calculate that there is possibility of a 33% rebound, not to all-time high, obviously, but maybe 10-15% rebound. That's quite possible. So in this case, because it's a triple ETF, it can perform quite well. But again, I'm not suggesting for everybody to jump in. I did, and we'll see. But I will not hold it for longer than, I don't know, 2-3 days probably.
Yeah, but see, that's what's happening, Sasha. The question is, when will the good buying opportunities take place in the market?
Right now. Right
yeah,
now.
That's what I was thinking.
Now, short-term rebound, 2-3 days. That's it.
Yeah.
Then the market will go much lower. But on a rebound, if you can make 10-15% in 3 days, I think it's pretty good.
Yeah. You know, well, I mean, see, that's what I'm saying. There'll be buying opportunities because usually when everybody's scared to death, the market's going down, I think that's the time to buy. Same thing in the real estate market. It's when everything is horrible. That's the best time to buy. But the question is when, and that's got to have a big crystal ball. But what's very interesting, I find out, one person in Washington, D.C. can create havoc worldwide. And that's the president of the United States.
The president is creating all kinds of havoc in the worldwide. We did get some good news, though.
Washington, D.C.
We did get some good news, Nick, and everything.
Market
We did get some good news about an issue that we talked about.
Think about how crazy this is, though. Just to add on to what you're talking about. We had just become a stable. Well, we were still on the way.
Are you trying to tell me he's a stable genius detective?
No. What I'm trying to tell you is that we had stability. The markets were steadily, they weren't fluctuating this bad. The health industry was not just this outlandish. People weren't going to the unemployment line. People weren't being picked up by ICE, just because they disagreed with what somebody said and being picked off the street. The people's visas weren't being revoked en masse because, hey, I want to do that today. I mean, it's just in 3 months, less than 100 days, we went from stability to complete chaos.
Oh yeah, it makes the world a lot more interesting. Just admit it.
Yeah, it makes it more interesting for us here at World Edition. By the way, Nick, you'll be glad to know that this is some medical update, but apparently a vaccine that people have been getting for years could possibly decrease the risk of dementia. So you might have to put up with a shingles vaccine, but you're 20% less likely to get dementia if you take the shingles vaccine. So I guess everybody's gonna have to rush to get the shingles vaccine if they want to not have dementia when they get older and everything like that. So they're saying that this is a major new study that just came out that this just the pain that you've got to get in that sense. Just really quickly, because I know Nick's already left and everything, and we're going to wrap up. And all along those lines, we've got the economic show with the Honorable David Walker coming up at 11 o'clock, and then we've got the media at 12 and everything. We started with sports, and I'll end with sports as well, but I don't know if anybody's got any thoughts around this. We do have the big game this evening between Florida and Houston for the national championship. I was hoping that Dawn Staley was going to win for South Carolina, but Connecticut was just too strong and they blew her out and everything like that. So, Jacoby, any picks for the game this evening since it is the national championship? And if you have any thoughts about Dawn's losing and not getting her repeat championship?
So with South Carolina, UConn had actually beat them the same way the first time they played earlier this year. Paige Beckers was she had been playing the tournament out of her mind. She was on a mission. So I applaud Paige Beckers and the other UConn women. They play phenomenal. They truthfully deserve to be a 1 seed more so than a 2 seed. You could have shifted it around. Honestly, they could have been a 1 seed over South Carolina because South Carolina, the way they ended the season, yes, the SEC, the way it was. But yeah, I had wanted to see USC with Juju Watkins playing Paige Beckers and UConn because I think that was a better matchup because of the way they play. And Juju Watkins is an all-star. She has been the best player the whole year, but so it would have been nice to see her match up with the way UConn is playing, and that would have been a good game. But we got robbed of that because of the because she had the the ACL tear. So I mean, I didn't expect UConn to beat them that bad, but I did expect UConn to win when they were paired up, just because again UConn went earlier this year. And the way Dawn Staley's team plays, because they don't play well from behind, they're a great defensive squad. They can shut people down, but if they can't outscore people. So their game plan is always to slow you down, shut you down, and then stay on top of you. And they couldn't do that with UConn. UConn got out front. They were both shooting out of their minds. But yeah, Dawn Staley.
Yeah, Rick and
I just wanted to say I took Sasha's advice and I bought $300 worth of Soxel. And after 3 minutes of owning it, I am up 95 cents.
Nice.
Almost $1.
Almost $1 after a few minutes. That's good.
So you spent $300 to get $1.
Now I'm up $2. Whoa, I'm at this rate. I might. It's going to go back down, but that's fine. It's
This is what you might have to
$300.
sell. Just really quickly, and a quick answer because we are at the hour and everything. Who's winning this evening between Houston and Florida? And it can be a quick one-word answer.
I would say Florida is going to win because they have been the deepest team. It's going to be a closer game because Houston never gives up and they try and wear you down. But Florida just has a deeper big man set than what Houston has.
Yeah.
So I just want to say, like, if you want to watch something, I follow the Lakers, and if you look at the Western Division of the NBA, you have 5 teams competing. Well, 6 teams competing for the 4 playoff spots, and 5 of them are tied at 32 losses apiece. So it's like, I don't know that if there's ever been this many teams packed together so tightly at the end of the season.
Well, it'll be
That's
interesting.
That's going to be an interesting race. I think still OKC will probably come out of the West. LA, depending on who they get matched up with, they could go out in the first round. I hate to say it, just because if they get paired with the wrong team, like if Golden State drops one more and they're sitting at 7, if they're sitting at 6 and the Lakers stay at 3, I can see Steph Curry and all of them taking out the Lakers because Steph Curry is just unreal, and the Lakers don't have anybody that can stop him.
Well, on that note, we're going to get out of here. We got economics as well, but we'll be back with more news conversation on tomorrow with both of our shows, World Edition and World Politics. But we got plenty more to talk about today with economics as well as Media Monday. So I'll catch y'all later.